now, and there we go. Right.
Thank you for asking me to speak again, Stephen. I really appreciate it. And I'll try to I will try to share with you some wisdom. Apologies if you know what I say, what I'm about to say. But I always think that it's nothing like a bit of chazorah to go over what you know. And also, when you hear the same books, when you hear the same thing from two different people, it's never quite the same. As Stephen said, like Goldmeier, of Shimon Bar Yochai. I'm going to go through a brief biography of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and start with the fact that he revealed, as Avi said, he revealed the Zohar, previously hidden parts of the Torah, to his students before he passed away. Shimon Bar Yochai is also known as the Rabbi, as many of us know, and he was one of Rabbi Akiva's top students. And he had been chosen, as Avi mentioned earlier, to reveal the hidden parts of the Torah. When Shimon was a young boy, he studied in the yeshivas, the academies of Yavne, founded by none other than Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and we know that was one of the requests Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai asked Vespasian when he managed to smuggle himself and some of his students outside the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai died about the time that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was born. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's, or the Rashbi's, principal teacher was a famous Rabbi Akiva, whose yeshiva was in Bnei Barak. And so attached was Rabbi Shimon, became so attached to his master, that they say that Rabbi Akiva called Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai my son. I'm not sure he did that to many of the other students, but he certainly did to Rabbi Akiva. So attached were they to each other. During the cruel persecution by the Roman Emperor Hadrian, when the Talmudic academies were shut down and the study of the Talmud was forbidden by penalty of death, Rabbi Akiva, as we know, continued to teach the Talmud publicly, and his devoted student, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, stayed at his side until Rabbi Akiva was arrested. And as we know, Rabbi Akiva was died of Al-Kiddush Hashem, and unfortunately, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was at his side when he perished, when he was tortured to death. And we'll come, that will be significant later in a little while, the fact that he was there. These were difficult times for the Jewish people in the land of Israel under the very brutal persecution of the Roman Emperor Hadrian. And it was particularly difficult for people to study the Talmud and conduct their schools. Again, the death penalty was pronounced for anybody who was caught ordaining or being ordained as a rabbi. And Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava didn't seem to care, like many others, and defied the Romans, and he ordained 5, or some say 6, Chachomim. Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai was one of them, Rabbi Yosef ben Chalafta, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua, and some say Rabbi Nechemiah. These 5 or 6 individuals, Chachomim, managed to escape, but unfortunately Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava was caught by the authorities and put to death. Another one of our martyrs. Eventually, the cruel Emperor Hadrian died, and his decrees weren't enforced with the same brutality, although things, as we know, came back, stopped and came back over the course of the Roman occupation of the land of Israel. So the leading Chachamim of the time, they gathered to consider ways of restoring Jewish life. And for reasons of safety, the Chachamim moved to Yavne, and they would meet in a vineyard. And the leading sages of the day, the leading Chachamim, Rabbi Yehuda, Yosef Hagalili, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, they would sit in the vineyard discussing things, and they were once discussing how they should approach the Roman government. What attitude should they take towards the Roman government? Rabbi Yehuda suggested they should be friendly towards them. Rabbi Yossi expressed no opinion, and Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, as I said earlier, because of his experience seeing his Rebbe tortured to death, he said that we should be absolutely defiant of the Romans. Shouldn't put up with anything they want, no peace at all. The Chachamim, these Chachamim were not aware, and many of you might be familiar with the story from Tisha B'Av, but many of the Chachamim, these Chachamim weren't aware that a man called Judah ben Gerim, Yehuda ben Gerim, who was apparently once a pupil of Shimon bar Yochai, was eavesdropping on their conversation. And there's two opinions, he either went straight to the Roman authorities, or others say that he spoke about this in the marketplace, and so the Roman authorities could overhear what was being said. And he said, he told either the Roman authorities or a group of people listened to by the Roman authorities what these Chacham had said. And one had said, be friendly to the Romans, one had said, Shimon bar Yochai said, not at all, let's defy them, and Yehuda had no opinion at all. And Yehuda Yehuda said, let's honor the Romans for what they've done, because after all, they'd built aqueducts and they'd made, I suppose, the much of the country of Israel quite modern in those days, in those terms. And he was honored because of what he said. And the Roman authorities exiled. They sent Rabbi Yossi away, and Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, of course, was the death penalty was put on him. So he fled. He fled with his son Elazar to the Beis Medrash for a year first. And his wife, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai's wife, used to bring him food and drink and water every day. But then things got, he was sort of found out, it was known that he was there, so he decided to go without anybody's knowledge. Him and his son Elazar, they went to a cave in Pekin, and miraculously, so we're told, that a carob tree sprouted and a spring of fresh water appeared. And him and his son lived on this for 12 years, studying the Torah day and night. After the 12 years, so they say that Eliyahu Hanavi brought them good tidings. Anyway, they found out through something somehow that there's been a change in Roman government and a reprieve. So they left the cave, and as they left the cave, they saw a Jewish farmer working his land. And they said, imagine people giving up the learning of the sacred Torah for these worldly matters. And as soon as they said that, the whole field went up in smoke. So I heard the busko, a heavenly voice from heaven, obviously, saying, have you come out of the cave to destroy my world? Go back into your cave. So they returned. Elazar and Shimon bar Yochai returned to the cave for another year. And only after hearing the same busko telling them to leave the cave did they do so. And this time, they had quite a different outlook on life. And a story is told, to counter the first story, which was told when they left after 12 years. When they left after the 13th year, they saw a man on Erev Shabbos, on Friday afternoon, running home with 2 bunches of myrtle in his hand. And they said, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and his son, Elazar, said to him, what are you doing carrying these 2 bunches of myrtle? I mean, one will be enough. The man said, look, I'm carrying these myrtle in order to make my house smell nice for Shabbos. And I'm carrying 2 because I want to go sort of over and above what I need to do to honor this Roy Shabbos in order to honor Shabbos. And Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai at that point, when he heard that, he turned to his son Elazar and he said, see how precious these mitzvahs are to our brothers, to the Jewish people. So they had learned to accept the world again, like. So satisfied that despite all the Roman persecutions, the Jewish people at that point, they realized that despite all the persecutions and they were forbidden to keep Shabbos and forbidden to keep other laws, they nevertheless clung. The Jewish people clung to Torah mitzvahs. They felt very, very encouraged. And Shimon bar Yochai went to a place called Tekoa, which is near Bethlehem. where he founded a yeshiva of his own. And some of the greatest Talmidei Chachamim of the day went to learn there. Among them was none other than Yehuda HaNasi. He wasn't a Nasi then, but he became Yehuda HaNasi, became the chief rabbi and the compiler, as we know, of the editor of the Mishnah. He was one of the students of Rabbi Once again, unfortunately, the religious persecution increased, and the Romans prohibited Shabbos observance and other laws. So the Chachamim decided to send a delegation to Rome, and they chose Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai to lead that delegation. When they came to Rome, they heard that the Roman emperor's daughter was unwell. She had some sort of mental illness. And Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai managed, with herbs, when it was, with tefillos, I'm sure, not just herbs, but plenty of prayers and other perhaps Kabbalistic sayings, managed to heal her. And the Roman emperor was extremely grateful and said to Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, you can go, as a reward, you can go to the treasury, and wherever it was at the time, you can go to the treasury and choose anything for yourself as a reward. So Rabbi Shimon looked around the treasury and he found there the original documents, or the original documents with the decrees of persecution, and he claimed these as his reward. And by doing so, he brought quite a lot of salvation. It wasn't complete salvation, but a great deal of a salvation to the Jewish people by claiming these documents as his reward. And Shimon bar Yochai was one of the greatest teachers of Jewish law and ethics. Interesting to note that although he spent, obviously he was with his son Elazar, but he spent 12 years or 13 years inside the cave by himself with his son, not having any contact with anybody from the outside. Now, if you look through the Talmud, the Mishnah and the Gemara, you'll find many of his sayings and laws relate to our relationship with other, about our relationship with other people. And one of the very well-known things that he said was, look in Mishnah Avos, that there are three crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of Kahuna, and the crown of Malchus. And the crown of a good name surpasses them all. And I'll just finish with a very short story that he once said. Shimon bar Yochai said, "If I were present at Har Sinai, I would have demanded two mouths, one for learning Torah, and the other one for eating." But when he saw people and what they said, they weren't careful with their speech, he admitted that that wouldn't be very wise, since even now, when man has but one mouth, he says so many wrong things. How much more so if he has two? So, as we know, today is a day that I've mentioned where thousands flock to Meron in the north of Israel, and for the yard site of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. And Be'ezus Hashem, we should, through the learning of Torah and the revealing of more Torah, bring about the Biasco Tzedek, Mehera V'Ameinu Amen.
We want to I will bid farewell to those on Zoom. We'll see you again next week, and I'll finish off the proceedings here in